Hello, hey, hi, welcome back to another video. Today I am answering all of your questions. I had asked a few weeks ago for you all to comment any questions that you had for me, and then I was going to go ahead and answer them, and you all had a lot of questions. As always, what happens whenever you ask questions and you get them answered, you always end up with more questions. So if you have more questions, I will be answering them in the comments below. If you have any questions that I did not answer in today's video, make sure you put it down in the comments and I will try my best to answer. I'm kind of going to split this up by crochet questions and then life questions. So we'll start with the crochet questions, and then if you are interested in my life, I will answer the life questions. First, I think I should talk a little bit about myself, which is kind of odd. My life story is a little bit weird. I actually grew up in Maine, and I lived there for several years. I went off to college and I moved to Wisconsin. I lived there for several years, and then now I'm in the state of Michigan. How old am I? I'm 24 years old, and I'm currently a graduate student in geology. I originally learned to knit from my mom whenever I was in, I think, like 4th grade or something. And I found it really difficult at the time. Obviously, my 7-year-old brain had a really hard time keeping track of which way do I put my yarn, and I accidentally drop stitches all the time and yada yada yada. That was kind of my I'm really bored, so therefore I'm gonna knit something for several years. And then whenever I was 13, she taught me how to crochet. I come from a very crafting family. My great-grandmother was a knitter, my grandma was a knitter, although now she's more into quilting. I have a bunch of aunts who are really into quilting and sewing and knitting and crochet. Obviously my mom, and now it's being passed down to me. Sewing and fiber arts and all of those things, I guess, run in my blood, so no wonder why I ended up this way as well. So yeah, I've been doing this a really long time. I think I actually started to pick it up though in college. I think a lot of people picked it up around 2020, and yeah, I just never stopped that time. I ran the Fiber Arts Club during undergrad. I was the president and co-founder. Yeah, now I do this as a hobby. I've had a lot of fun. I've almost been posting here on YouTube for almost a year. I think it's a year in September, which is pretty crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. I've had a lot of fun, and I hope you have also had a lot of fun watching these. Thank you for joining me if you're here. Before we get into all of the questions, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I post a lot of crochet vlogs, crochet challenge videos once in a while. Very chill vibe, something nice to watch while you're working on your own projects. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It is free to do so. And I think we'll get on with our first question. Ashley Woody 9386 asks, what's a yarn fiber you haven't worked with but really want to? Is there anything new you want to learn? And what's your favorite project you've made? This is 3 questions, obviously. The first one, what's a yarn fiber you haven't worked with but really want to? I know a lot of people are really getting into more natural fibers, and I'd say the same thing. I've started with a lot more cottons recently, and I've been really enjoying that, although I also have been eyeballing some alpaca yarn, so I would love to try some of that. I've had a superwash merino, and I think non-superwash, but still just merino wool. And that's fine, I don't mind it. I think sometimes it can be a little bit more itchy, and so I wouldn't mind finding other kinds of wool blends, alpaca or what's literally any other kind of wool that all of them just left my brain. Yeah, I think different wools, wool blends, wool cotton blends, wool acrylic blends, I think that's more of what I'm doing. I've done wool acrylic blends, like the Lime brand Thick and Quick. That's a wool and acrylic blend, I believe. But yeah, more natural fibers, I guess, is my goal. Although sometimes they can be very expensive, and I don't have the budget for those very expensive, very nice luxury wools, so it might just be a treat every once in a while that I might be able to pick up something. The second question in here, is there anything new you want to learn? Yes. I haven't tried a filet crochet. I think that could be good. I would love to make some layer vest or shirt of some kind. I think that would be good. And then also knitting colorwork scares me. I am so scared of having multiple strands going, and which yarn am I grabbing, and making sure that my tension is still good so that I'm not like making my adult size hat into a child size hat or like all of that. I'm nervous about it. Although I had the same thing with socks, and now I'm knitting socks just fine, but I was so scared of knitting socks because of the small circumference and like the small needles and like the heel flapping gusset sounded terrifying, and now I can do that. Or steeking. There's a lot of knitting techniques that I'm scared of. Colorwork, steeking, all of that stuff is like, I'm definitely terrified that it's all just going to unravel or just be, I'm just gonna be bad at it. But that's okay. Like, if it's my first time doing it, of course I'm gonna be bad at it. So I need to just like get over that. Was my first sock great? No, but it was a sock, so that's all that matters. And so I need to have that thinking going in. I know that sometimes it's hard to just rationalize with yourself. Yeah, those are things that I really want to try, but I am scared. What's your favorite project you've made? Ooh, that's a good question. I've made quite a few dresses. Obviously, if you've been here a long time, you know I made a like purple dress last summer. I made most of it last summer and then finished it in January. But I've also made my graduation dress whenever I graduated from undergrad. I finished it the morning of, obviously. And then I also made a friend a dress as well. It was this like cream color dress with like green accents and cherry appliques all over the entire dress. It took me months to make this dress, but it looked so good in the end. It just looks so good. I'm so proud of that. So either I would say probably the strawberry or the cherry dress. I would say probably the cherry dress, or I also made a blanket 2 years ago, I think at this point, out of like a bunch of yarn. It was, what was the pattern name? As We Go Stripey Blanket by Hannah Davis at NotYourAverageCrochet.com. It was beautiful. I used Big Twist Living. I used so much yarn in this blanket, and it is huge. I mean, like, this is like a queen size blanket that I crocheted, and some of these rows are single half double crochets. Like, it was a lot of work. It took months, but I don't know, there's something about it. It is kept in storage because I'm deathly afraid of ruining it, which is so sad because I spent hours working on it, but I can't have anything happen to it. So yeah, I'd say one of those two are probably my favorite project that I've ever made. March Duster Winkle 9639. How do you plan on pricing your items, especially since sizes like extra small is way quicker than extra extra large? This is a great question, especially since I now have custom orders. If you didn't know, I have custom orders, mesh sleeves, I have crop tops, I have bucket hats, I have pickles. Remember, this is not my full-time job. I'm doing this as a hobby. I'd be crocheting anyways, basically all the time. So for me, I'm not super worried about my hourly wage whenever it comes to actually making these things. I understand there's a thing of like extra extra large takes more time and it takes more materials to make than an extra small. So I have priced things the same. So if you're an extra extra small, you're paying a little bit more. If you're extra extra large, you're paying a little less. That's just the way it goes. I tried to make it like an even price for all of the sizes, you know? I know some people will either love that idea or hate that idea, depends on who you are. I think it was just the most fair way to do things. It's just everyone has the same price, and then I've priced it at a way that if I'm using as much yarn, I'm still making a little bit of profit. Like I've paid for the yarn basically that it used to make it, but like not much else. So that's kind of how I've done things. And then, so all of my prices are low because of that. Like, because this isn't my full-time job, I just want to make back the yarn costs, basically, my material costs, so that I can then go and buy new stuff. Honestly, a lot of it is just on vibes. I'm like, scrunchy? How does $4 sound? You know, that's kind of the way I'm going with it. So I hope that's good. I had my market last week, and I had several people not complain, but like mention to me of like, your prices are too cheap. You need to like raise your prices. And I was like, I know. And I did that on purpose. Because there's also a thing of like, oh, if I raise my prices, it's going to price out other people. You know, if the prices are a little bit lower, you're more likely to buy something because you feel like you're getting a good deal for something. So I'm kind of also somewhat playing that battle, but also I don't really care that much, honestly. So maybe that's bad, maybe I should, but I just don't care, to be honest. Katrina Wade 3226 says, an American crocheting like an English knitter. Interesting. Also, what kind of pet do you keep in the pen behind you? I figured this was a great comment to kind of transition between fiber arts questions and my personal questions. So first, an American crocheting like an English knitter. Interesting. I've had so many comments in my comment section commenting on the way that I crochet, and it is different, and I totally understand that. And I do think it's a little bit funny of just how many people are like, it took me a second to realize something was different about the way you're holding your hook, and we're like, oh, I've never seen someone do that before. And yeah, it is different. It is like English knitting, but with a crochet hook. I hold both my hook and my yarn in my right hand, and that's how I've always crocheted. It's because I started to learn to knit. That's how I learned how to tension my yarn correctly, and so whenever I learned to crochet, that's just what felt comfortable to me because I learned English knitting. It's as simple as that. That's what I learned first, and I've tried to crochet continental, and like it is the loosest like stitches I've ever done in my life. They're so inconsistent, and I can't seem to get it. It's either way too tight or way too loose. And I know that if I just practiced, I'd probably get there, but honestly, I found something that works for me, so why change it? I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just I hold it a little bit different. I did feel a little bit self-conscious about that for quite a while, actually, of like, oh my gosh, like everyone's doing this thing and they seem like so much faster than I am. But it doesn't matter. It's what's comfortable for me, and therefore it's what's fastest for me. I also do have a really tight tension. I've noticed this on everything. All of the crochet patterns, I always have to either like go way up in hook or needle size, or I have to like do math on my gauge, or like go up several sizes that like I'm actually making, or like do math to correct my gauge just because I knit very tight, and I crochet very tight. It's why I like my metal needles. It's like I like my metal hooks with sharp tips because I crochet very tight. And I think that might be because I hold my yarn so close to my hook and my needles. There's not a lot of wiggle room there to make it looser, you know? It's all like clustered in my right hand. I do want to quickly show you how I crochet, so we're going to flip the camera around so that I can show you what exactly I'm doing whenever I crochet. Welcome to my desk. Here we are. This is a new angle for me. Let me know if you like it. It's a little weird to set up, but here we are. I have, oh, not those. My yarn. Here's a leftover skein of some classic cotton by Lips and Threads. So what I do is I hold my hook, thumb on thumb rest, and then I actually hold my project with my left hand. So my left hand's not doing absolutely nothing, but it's not doing a lot. And so I will either just grab the yarn with these 3 fingers and wrap it up and over my finger. I'll do that again. I'll either grab it with these 3 fingers, down below, up and over, and then my yarn will just feed right through my fingers. Or I will wrap my pinky the same way, up, over, and around, grab with the other fingers, and then same thing with my pointer. This will just give me a little bit more tension for the yarns that might be a little bit thinner, might be a little bit more slippery, and so this will just give me a little bit more tension on the yarn to make sure it's not sliding, or, you know, I can actually hold on to it fairly well. So if you notice, my left hand isn't doing absolutely nothing. I always grab it pretty close to the actual shaft of my hook. I think that it just gives me a little bit more stability. And it's also the thing that is moving my stitches up and down, right? I'm turning my hook a little bit with my right hand, but a lot of what's like actually doing the sliding up and down and the rotating is, oop, that's the wrong stitch, is actually this hand moving up and down and up and down. I've heard some people say that this might be a little bit more of an adaptive way to crochet just because You know, they're not using one hand as much, which might be better if you have maybe chronic pain or like mobility issues with one hand. Just it might be a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable to be able to crochet, or even knit. Maybe you like English knitting better. I can show you an example really quick of knitting. Here I'm working on a top kind of in the background. I'm using the Hobie Tea Time, and I'm just doing a basic like t-shirt, and whenever I knit, let me move these stitches up, it is the exact same thing. I'll wrap around my pinky, grab with the 3 fingers, wrap around my finger. And it is the exact same as I just wrap with this hand with my left hand. But then my left hand is the one that is actually like pushing the yarn up and down. As you can see, I will put my finger here to push the needle up and over. So my left hand is always moving the project around, and my right hand is solely there to maybe move this needle a little bit, but mostly there just to keep feeding it more yarn. Hopefully that was a good introduction into how I knit and crochet with my right hand mostly. I know it looks a little funky on camera. It takes you a little bit, especially because typically you're looking at it backwards rather than as if you are looking down at my hands. So maybe that made it a little bit easier, a little bit better to understand. But yeah, that is how I knit and crochet. Hopefully that was useful to you if you have always wondered how exactly I crochet or wondered why it looked a little bit different. Hopefully if you are looking for a more accessible way to crochet, something a little bit more comfortable for you, maybe that's a good option. I'd say just keep trying it out, try different ways of holding both your yarn and your hook or needles, and eventually I hope you find something because it's a really great craft. The second half of Katrina Wade's question was, what kind of pet do you keep in the pen behind you? I don't know if you've seen behind me, I have a little like crate pen thing behind me, and it is for my rabbit. You might have seen him in a few of my videos pass by on the floor, or me show a little clip of him. His name is Day. He is 6 years old and he is a mini Rex. Mini Rexes are known for their velvety soft fur. Anytime anyone has met him and pet him, their immediate reaction is like, oh my gosh, he's like the softest thing I've ever touched. He feels like velvet. I have had him since my very first year in college. The dorms actually allowed us to have ESAs. It was an application process with a lot of paperwork. But you were allowed to have a cat, dog, or rabbit in the dorms with you as long as you did all this paperwork and matched whatever criteria. So that's what I did, and I got Day halfway through my first year at college, and he has been with me ever since in the dorms all 4 years and beyond. He is quite the feisty little guy. He's currently below my feet, so that's what I'm looking at. He's right down here. I always said he was like a toddler for several years. He has since mellowed out a little bit. He was just a baby. I mean, I got him when he was 8 weeks old, so he was definitely a menace. Still is now, but now I think he's more like a grumpy teenager. He's getting to be a grumpy middle-aged man, but he's so cute and adorable, and it's hard to say no to him. But he's very particular. He wants what he wants and nothing else. But yeah, he's cute. I can show you around a little bit. This was my view underneath my desk. Here's his little face. Hi, buddy. He's got a light gray belly, and he's got big floppy ears. He is a mini Rex. He weighs about 4 pounds, and he's just so adorable and sweet. Yeah, hi. He has full range to our office. So this is the pen behind me. He has his litter box, his water, and his food bowl, and some little chew toys. He also has chew toys throughout the office. It is quite messy, so I'm not going to show you all of it. But yeah, he has full access. This is never closed. This is always open. He spends a lot of time under our desks, though. I think he just likes the little dark, quiet corners to sleep. But yeah, this is one of his little chew toys. But yeah, His name is Day. He's 6 years old. He's such a cutie. I do have two other lovely creatures. I have two pets. This one is Poe, and this one is Acro. They are both cats. Poe is 9 years old. He was a stray for quite a while, so he is missing half of his ear, and it does not look like it came off very cleanly. But he is very cute. Oh. Hi, buddy. He was a stray for several years. We got them both in the same foster, and we took Poe home first, and he did not come out from under the bed for, I think, like 3 months. And now we can barely pet him unless it is during dinner. He is a sweetie, and he does have boundaries. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. But he's not a big fan of pets, but that's okay. We still love him all the same. And then this guy, who has been attacking my hand since I sat down, this is Acro. He is 7 years old, so 2 years younger. They were in the foster together, and they, I guess, bonded while they were there. And so a little bit later we got Acro, and he is the sweetest. You've probably seen him a few times. He loves attention. He is the complete opposite of Poe. But, buddy, I can't pet you if you attack me. Do you want pets or not? Buddy, okay, fine. I'll stop petting you. Is that what you want? Do you want stop pets? No more pets? No, you just want to be close to me? Oh, that was cute, buddy. But yeah, these are also our two pets. Two cats. That's my foot. Ow. He's also very playful. He loves to play. You're the one who came up to me. I don't know what you want. But yeah, I also have two cats, and they're lovely and adorable. They're all boys, so I'm the only female in this house. Ow! Why are you being so mean all of a sudden? I put a camera in your face and then you're so mean. They're all boys. I'm the only female in this house. I call them my boys. They're all my boys, and I love them all very much. Somehow they all ended up being like black and white. One is mostly black with some gray, and the others are black and white. The next question comes from Queen's Yarn Boutique. What do you do for work? It sounds like you work in agriculture. When I used to work in agriculture, I used to have to check fields. Do you do something similar? This is a great question, and I know I haven't explained whenever I say field work, what exactly does that mean? So I'm a student in geology. I'm doing my master's, and I'm doing a research master's. And so that means a portion of my credits has to be some kind of research. So for me, I will conduct my research, I will come up with some kind of deliverable, and then I will have to actually defend my master's thesis. I will have to write up a paper. It's almost like a PhD, but shortened and not as extreme. You know, I don't have to do multiple chapters. It's more like one chapter. And so whenever I am out in the field, I am literally in the middle of the woods where very few humans have been. There is no trail. And we are going out looking for outcrop. Outcrop is basically bedrock, rock that is attached to the like actual crust somehow, and we are kind of getting the circumference of that outcrop at several different points. We are breaking open the rock, seeing what kind of rock it is. We're looking at what minerals are there, what percentage of minerals make up that rock, trying to give an identification. What kind of cool features are there? Is there something different that changes throughout the rock? Which way is it? How is it lined up in a three-dimensional model of the earth? And all of those things. And so I am from 8 a.m. to sometimes 5, 6 p.m. outside in the middle of the woods looking at rocks. And so that's what I mean by out in the field. I am several hours away from where I live. That's just happened to be where the project that was being funded for me, that's where they wanted it to be, and so I have to travel several hours. I will be there for several days, hence in the hotel, because it doesn't make sense if you have like a 10-hour day to spend 6 of them driving. Yeah, that's what I mean by in the field. So it is not agriculture, it is geology. I am purely looking at rocks and what kinds of rocks are there. It's definitely a challenge. Sometimes we have a like base map where it's a map that was once made, but it was in the 60s. It is not correct anymore, as it was the 60s. They found their way through pace and compass, which is how many steps does it take to get X amount of meters. Therefore, how many meters have I walked and in which direction based on a compass. So the outcrop that we just finished was off by 100 meters. For our project, we have to have sub-meter accuracy. So we know where we are within this 1 meter diameter around us. For it to be off 100 meters is not good. Also, on top of that, some of our area isn't even mapped. So we're going based off of like Google Maps imagery on where could there be rock because we have miles and miles of land to cover and we are not going to be able to cover it all. So that is kind of the research that I'm doing now, is making that map. And then from there, I'm going to be making cross sections. So based on the geometry that we see in the surface, how can I project that and interpolate that down to subsurface where we might not be able to see? I can take drill data that might give us a few hundred feet of like, this is exactly where the boundaries of these rock units are. However, that is not going to help me whenever I'm making 4 different cross sections and I can't have drill holes lined up all the way across because that's a lot of money and we don't have that. We're not drilling. We are using old drill records, well water records to try to piece together things. So that is what I mean by in the field, is I'm just outside looking at rocks for several days at a time. Sometimes that's not fun. This last week we have dealt with a lot of heat, and if you have paid attention to the news at all, it is very smoky. So I was supposed to be out today. However, we are back because it is like so unhealthy to be outside for 8-10 hours. So we are back, unfortunately. It's just not good to be outside right now, so we can't. Our very last question comes from Amy Reithart 5713, and they say, I have a lot of questions for you, but I would really love if you could give us a little bit of info about what kind of work you are doing and what kind of class you are teaching. So I just kind of talked about this, of my work that I'm doing. That is my like master's research work. I'm also a student, so I also have been taking classes, although now I'm at the end of my curriculum, so it is just research. I'm not taking any more classes. However, I have been teaching classes. So over the summer, I was doing like my department hosts like a summer youth program. And so I was teaching middle school and high school students about geology. They were here for summer camp. We were doing a lot of hands-on activities. We went down into the mines to do drilling and blasting. We played with sandboxes, learned about minerals and how to identify them, and used microscopes to look at minerals under the microscope and how they interact with light, and a bunch of really fun hands-on things. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun, and the kids really enjoyed getting to experience geology and getting their hands a little bit dirty. And so that was what I was doing a few weeks ago over the summer. But I also am a TA, so I help teach the intro geology lab and the mineralogy lab for my department. So I also I was teaching classes while also taking classes, while also doing research, while also making YouTube videos. So last semester was definitely a lot on my plate. However, now one of those has been taking off my plate. I'm no longer taking classes, I'm just doing research, but that means I have more time for doing research, and therefore more research is expected of me. So yes, I do have a very full plate, but that's the way I like it. I don't like to be sitting still for very long. I always feel like I need to be doing something. So that's a little bit about me and what I've been doing in my life. Again, let me know if there's any other questions down below in the comments, whether or not you had a question that you never asked and you want answered, or if any of these sparked new questions for me, go ahead and ask them down below. I think that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you like it, subscribe so that you don't miss any more of my future videos. I post a lot of crochet vlogs, crochet challenge videos, so if that sounds good to you, make sure you stick around, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to see you next week.